All right. Welcome back to another episode of the Real Estate Investing Club. I hope you guys are having a great day, bringing that Friday energy to you. It is still the day after Halloween. I know last episode we said that, but we do 3 episodes per day here. So again, happy Halloween to everybody out there. I hope you guys had a great day and got some. I hope your kids got some good goodies out there. It's a good day for a second reason because we got Jeremy Beland with us from REI Freedom. He has done over 400 flips off market properties across 6 states. So there's a lot to go into here. Jeremy, I'm excited to jump into this. Thanks for hopping on the show.
Thanks, man. I really appreciate you having me on the show today. Really excited. Hope I can provide a lot of great value for your listeners and make this a really fun and exciting podcast episode.
All right. To start it off, I told you we always like to start with stories. We like to hear how people got to where they are. I'm sure you got a good one. So take us to the beginning of your story and tell us how you got here.
Okay, let me take a deep breath here because I'm going to try to get this out quickly. All right. So my name's Jeremy Beland. As I record this with you guys today listening, I'm 48 years old. I started my real estate journey at 40, but it didn't quite start then. So came into this world basically homeless. You know, my mom was a single mom with no significant other in her life at young 20s. And we were basically poor, bouncing around from place to place in the beginning of my life until she met somebody when I was about 5 years old. Went on to marry that guy. We got out of poverty and welfare and finally got into a place where we call it lower middle class. At least we had a house, we had some cars and stuff like that. And then in my adolescence, into my early teens, life was pretty good. And then my stepfather at the time decided he wanted to go down an entrepreneurial road. And he was one of the many that never really made it quite to that 5 years. And in doing so, he left a really good management job with a high-tech company at the time, and he lost everything. Oh. And I found myself going into high school about 13, 14 years old, basically homeless again. We ended up having the house foreclosed. We had our cars repossessed overnight. My family went through bankruptcy. Next thing you know, we're bouncing around from place to place. You know, looking back now as a grown-up, you know, I can only imagine the struggles that they were trying to overcome while trying to raise 3 kids and trying to keep their stuff together. So needless to say, I was kind of neglected as they were trying to just navigate life. I kind of got into a little bit of trouble into my teens, ended up going to 3 different high schools, ended up dropping out of high school at 16, and really had no life direction. So, you know, I was high school dropout, didn't go to college. I was getting into trouble. I was doing drugs, you know, drinking and, you know, just getting, you know, petty arrests for stupid things. And I just had no direction, had no money, no credit. And it was about 20 years old when I found the gym. And the gym was like this first piece of my life because I played sports as a kid, but it was taken away from me, that allowed me to learn about personal development. Go in, put in some consistent hard work.
The gym, like working out, exercising, going that kind of thing.
Yeah,
okay, cool.
Lift your weights, right? It was
and a little. I don't mean to jump into your story here, sure. But I love it when people talk about the gym like it is a central cornerstone to their development. Because honestly, like that is, if I could point to one thing in my own life that has been the biggest boon to my own success, it would be going to the gym consistently. I just like cannot underestimate or overstate how important, in my opinion, going to the gym is for personal development. Anyways, keep going.
No, I couldn't agree more. And it's really been the foundation of my success since I was 19, 20 years old when I found the gym. And, you know, now we're talking almost 30 years. I was in the gym today. I'm in the gym most days. So, you know, got into the gym, started playing some semi-pro adult tackle football. And a friend of mine at the time says, "Hey, Jeremy, I think you should consider this job opportunity I have for you." At the time, I was doing high-rise window cleaning in Boston, hanging off skyscrapers for a measly $24,000 a year, right?
Wow, I thought that they would pay those guys way more than $24,000 a year. That is a dangerous job.
No, not in the early 2000s. I was making $24,000 a year. You know, I had a $400 beater car. I had an apartment that, you know, I paid $800 a month. I mean, I was poor. I had no credit. You know, I wasn't set up great to adult life. But the guy got me a job opportunity at a sales job, and I never did sales in my life. And I never even owned a tie in my life. I had to go buy a tie for this job interview, go get the tie, have somebody tie it for me, go to the job interview, end up getting the job. It was just basically entry-level sales for selling fax machines, copiers, printers, things like that. And it was a great opportunity, and I seized it. No more hanging off skyscrapers, make the same amount of money, plus the opportunity for commission. But now I have to go knock on doors, and that's what I did. So I got a lot of no's, but it learned me how to. Every no gets you a little closer to yes. How got me outside of my comfort zone of talking to complete strangers. Right, there was a lot of catalysts that really helped me. So fast forward a few more years, I get married. I'm making six figures. I'm in a different sales job. I'm in my early 30s now. Life is great. I've actually owned a house. I have a white picket fence, not the real white picket fence, but
Yeah, the conceptual white picket. Yeah.
Yeah, the conceptual one, right? I have two new cars, a pool. Like, dude, I made it. Like, for where I was, I made it. I came from nothing, had everything. And I was just getting into real estate investing at this time, was reading Rich Dad, Poor Dad, and a bunch of other things. Took a Donald Trump University. This is like 2007, 2008 seminar over a weekend. And then 2009 came. And for some of your listeners that weren't around then, that's when the Great Recession happened. And that was not only a housing crisis, but it was an employment crisis. And I got hit by both of those. And I found myself within, a year and a half, I was upside down in my house, $150,000. Could not get a job anywhere. I was unemployed, couldn't find a job. And because it was an employment crisis, because I didn't have a high school degree or college education, all those people that were higher educated and more successful, or maybe up the hierarchy in the corporate world than me, all taking lesser paying jobs to make their own ends meet because they were all suffering from it. So it just pushed me down the totem pole. Needless to say, I was on the brink of foreclosure myself, the brink of bankruptcy myself. Now I have two kids. I felt like a complete failure. I was basically going to go into depression, and I was depressed. But I had one opportunity, and I could go into the Air Force to get an education, and that was what I thought. At 33 years old, if I go into the Air Force, I can learn how to sell network security, come out, because this will be a quote unquote recession-proof job, so I never have to go through this situation again. But in order to do that, I can't go through bankruptcy and foreclosure because I need a top secret clearance, and the government won't give me one. So what do? Well, I know a little bit about real estate. I had one hope. I reached out to a local real estate investor, and a local real estate investor came out and said, "Hey, Jeremy, you know what? I can short sale your house. I have experience working with your mortgage company. I've had success short selling other properties. They're a pain in the ass, but I know we can get it done." My first off-market transaction, I was the motivated seller, and this real estate investor came out and saved my life. He basically gave me a reset button. And honestly, if it wasn't for him, I would not be on this podcast talking to you today. So he came in, short sold my house. I left for the Air Force at 33 years old for 6 months. We moved to a different town. I went into basic training with a bunch of 17-year-old kids. My nickname was Gramps because I was twice their age. And, I started rebuilding myself, and it took a couple of years to rebuild myself through the Air Force. Eventually, I came back. I ended up getting divorced. And then I found myself at 40, and this is where my real estate journey started. So I was approaching 40 years old. I was a single divorced dad, two kids. And I'm like, man, what happens if this happens again? I don't want to be homeless for the fourth time. I don't want to go through bankruptcy yet again, right? My life has been this roller coaster ride. I said, I got to take control. I got to take action, put my life into my own hands. I don't want to be dependent on another person's business for my outcome. So I started looking at some podcasts, came across this guy named Tom Kroll with the Wholesaling Inc. podcast. I ended up selling my townhouse as I turned 40 years old because it was the only money that I had. I made $17,000 in equity in that house. I moved my kids into a crappy little 2-bedroom apartment. I took $11,000 of that $17,000, $5,000 got me into a program to teach me how to wholesale. And this is my first check that I got 90 days later for a whopping $5,000. But the power of belief is amazing. $6,000 was my initial marketing spend. And that $11,000 not only got me my first deal, but it got me to do 10 deals that first year. And then got me to more ongoing coaching. And as we stand here today, that was, in 2017, we're wrapping up 2024. My companies have done over 450 off-market acquisitions, and we've done over $10 million in gross profits since then.
Man, I love that story. Yeah, I feel like what I love the most about that story is the ups and downs, because so many times we see successful people in real estate and in any endeavor really, and we only see the end result and we don't see what they've been through to get to that end result. You went up, you went down multiple times until finally you leveraged the sale of your house in order to get really into real estate, take courses, start wholesaling. And I like that in particular because it kind of mirrors my own story. Like I hated corporate and I really wanted out, and I leveraged the sale of a duplex that I was living in. I did the whole house hack thing, and I leveraged
Sure,
that sale
sure.
to get into my first mobile home park that I bought. And so it's that leap that you made, that I made, that a lot of investors that I've talked to have made, um, where they throw caution to the wind essentially, and they say, this is what I'm doing. I am making this decision. It's going to work out. And I'm just putting all my eggs in this basket to make it work. It's scary, but if you really are committed, you can make it work. You're a testament to it. I'm a testament to it. So once you sold your townhouse, you had that 17, and you chose you said 10,000, you chose to take more than half of it and put it into education. Why did you make that decision? And just kind of take us through the thought process you had
Yeah. So
at
yeah,
that point.
at 17,000, 6,000 went into credit card debt, and then 5,000 was a coaching program. And I was like, if I'm going to learn how to wholesale, and my thought process at the time is like wholesaling is like the lowest barrier of
Mm,
entry, right? I'm not
right.
gonna because I didn't know I could use other people's money at that time. I'm like, I don't have money to buy rentals. I don't have money to buy flips. But if I can learn how to wholesale, then at least I know how to get the properties at the lowest level. Then eventually I can learn how to do those other things. But I need to really learn how to go get these deals. And Tom Kroll was he was just a very energetic guy, charismatic. He was just, he resonated with me, and he was doing the business. I'm like, I can go figure it out myself but I don't know. The thought process never really even thought about just figuring it out myself. I knew about wholesaling, but I'm like, I'm just going to pay this guy $5,000 and he's going to teach me. And that's what he did. So he taught me the course and I did it. And once I sold my house, I didn't have anything else other than my W-2. So I'm like,
Mm,
I am going to make this work. And you're right. It is scary and you have to go all in. And most people that I know do have to take that scary jump, which the people who don't never do and get into it. And, you talk about my life being like this, the struggles and everything else. Well, my success from that first deal to where I am today at 450 plus deals mimics my life. There's been so many ups and downs, a lot of sleepless nights, a lot of times I thought it was all going to end, right? Times I made these massive mistakes, right? So, like, that's just life in general. That's the journey in real estate. We see a lot of stuff on social media, a lot of it's smoke and mirrors, where we just think everything's up and to the right. That isn't reality. It is business, it is people, it is real estate. A lot of that stuff is hard. And I've had the privilege of being coached by a lot of great mentors. I've spent over $350,000 in ongoing training since that first one. I could not have done it without them or my great team. But needless to say, we still have our setbacks and bumps in the road, and and that's just the way it goes. But it's still scary at times, even with all the success. It's still scary at times.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. So let's talk about the trajectory since that first
Yeah,
deal. Wholesaling, that's is how I got started as well. I did one flip prior to the wholesale, but then the first time that I really tried to get into real estate was wholesaling. My first deal also was 5,000. It's funny, I've talked to a lot of people. 5,000 seems to be your
yeah,
first check is always going to be five. But wholesaling is difficult. It does have a low barrier to entry, which is also
yeah.
why it's difficult. Tell us, after that first deal you got done, how did you scale from there? Did you continue wholesaling, or at what point did you get
Yeah.
into flips?
Yeah, we didn't really do our first flip until like well into our late second year, and really more into our third and fourth years. So we were traditionally a wholesale, and we were living deal to deal. That coaching program was great to teach me how to get my first deal. Where it lacked was, how do I get better? How do I rinse and repeat? Right? I
Hmm.
just didn't know. There was no resources to say, all right, you did one deal, now what? I guess I just keep doing what I do, and I did, but it just didn't really set me up for consistent success. So we kind of failed our way forward that first year. Did 10 deals, made like 73K, which is great. Most of it went right back into the marketing, into the company. Maybe took a little bit for myself, but it wasn't until the second year where I came across Todd Toback, who's an investor who's been doing this for 20 years out of Southern California. And he was really big on the acquisition skills training,
Hmm.
which is something that I've really worked. It's kind of what we coach today, but my team is all we've ever really focused on from an acquisition side is get better talking to people on the phone and in person.
Hmm.
And once I started learning some of his techniques and applying them to my phone calls and in-person appointments, it was a game changer. We did 10 deals that first year, but then we did over 24 the second. We did 36 the third, right? We went from like 77,000 to like, not, 250,000 rather than getting, $7,000 a deal. We went up to like, $20,000 a deal. Then we eventually went up to $35,000 a deal. Some of that's dispositions, but a lot of it's just the practice and implementation of the sales skills that we learned that we just kept improving. A lot of people don't understand. You really need to get good at talking to sellers and solving people's problems. It's not just about the numbers and just putting it out offers. You've got to be really good at overcoming objections, dealing with habitual procrastinators, people who have emotional issues, people that stick their heads in the ground like an ostrich when the world's collapsing around them and kicking the can down the road as far as they can. You have to deal with all these challenges, and that's not easy. And it takes a skill set to do that. And then once we started really practicing that consistently, that's when it started to be a game changer in our trajectory of success.
So it sounds like a lot of what you guys do is on the phone for off market lead gen.
No, we have a script where the leads come in. We qualify it with an incoming call script, but we believe in the belly to belly model. I've tried virtual. I know a lot of people do it. There's certain models that work well. I don't really believe in the virtual model. I like the local house buyer. So any markets that we've been in, we've had boots on the ground and an acquisition person that's represented us as a local home buyer. So we'd rather be in somebody's living room or kitchen, really building rapport and solving problems. That's how we roll.
Yeah, I've also tried. When I was doing single family, I tried doing just virtual, and it is. I did not find success. I'll put it at that. Just doing virtual is not, especially for single family. It just does not. Some people do it, so I don't want to say it doesn't work. I have talked to people that do it successly. I did not find
not the many.
Yeah. So take us to your business today. How does it run? Like, how do you guys actually, let's do kind of a case study. Let's say you want to open a new office in Cincinnati. You guys in Cincinnati?
Yep. Nope.
Perfect. Let's use Cincinnati. You want to open a new office in Cincinnati. What are the first few steps that you take to get your business running?
Yeah, so I really want to understand which parts of Cincinnati would do well. I would focus on an area where most people would be moving to buy starter homes, right? We find that beginner homes is kind of our bread and butter. We don't want to really be in the low end area. We don't want to be in the high end affluent area. We really want to be middle class America, where that first time home buyer is buying their home. So we're looking for those areas where people are moving to. So I'd identify that area. I would start building a buyers list right away in that area through certain techniques. And then we'd be looking to hire an acquisition guy through an acquisition hiring process. We use a third party for that. And we would get boots on the ground. We'd put them through an extensive training program. And, typically we can get our first person's deal up and close within 60 to 90 days if we do it in-house. But it's going to take him 6 to 12 months to really hone in his skills to a point where he's doing multiple deals a month. So it takes some time. So you got to understand there's going to be a cost investment with marketing upfront, time investment. You may not really see the rewards on that for at least a year. That's okay. But we would identify a great acquisition sales guy and train him. And then we'd start with some outbound marketing, such as direct mail, probably throw up some PPC and SEO at the process at the same time. We probably wouldn't focus on any other marketing channels other than that, keep it at a modest budget. And as the revenue started to come in, we'd start to see our KPIs and start playing around with that marketing budget to see what we could do to max out the ROI without overspending.
Sounds perfect to me. One thing that did kind of jump out at me is you guys use a third party company to hire your acquisitions guys. Yeah. I have never done that. Tell me about it. So you guys basically an HR or a recruiting firm, sounds like.
Kind of, sort of. It's one specific to our industry. Honestly, I've had some great hires, but I've also had a ton of bad hires. I will honestly say I suck at hiring. All right, it is what it is.
Hey, at least you know your strengths, right?
I'm good at leading. I'm good at training, but what I find in qualities doesn't always translate to success. So there's this company called Team Architects, and they're tremendous. And I came across them through one of my coaches from Ken Clothier. And matter of fact, one of the guys that's owner is actually my regular coach now. But when we were going through a hiring process and scaling at one point, we reached out to them, and they basically have a hiring process specific for our industry: disposition managers, acquisition managers, VAs, project managers, transaction coordinators, right? So you identify what you want to get. They will either do the hiring for you for a higher cost or teach you what you need to do. Like, here's the language you need to go put in Indeed. These are the type of ads you need to run, right? And then they give you like this assessment where everybody has to do an assessment. It's based off cognitive skills and behavioral skills, and you're graded on a chart from 0 to 100 based specifically on your role. So, if you're hiring an acquisition person, the guy scores like in the 90s, they're like, all right, we got a rock star here. Then this assessment allows you to do like an online interview with this person or in-person interview, and you just start going through it. It's an amazing process. We've had great success from it. It's not actually a lot of money either. And so that's how we handle it going forward with all of our hires.
Nice. So that's a good resource. Teamarchitects.com. Architect or architects?
Architects. Yep.
Okay.
Architects. Yeah. And listen, I'm not getting anything by saying them.
Yeah.
I highly recommend them. If you're looking to hire in this industry, you should have a conversation with them.
Nice. Yeah. Hiring is, it's very time consuming, especially for specific roles. You just have to do so many interviews, and so many of them are just duds. And if you're talking about like hiring cold callers, man, I'm telling you, 50 to 75% of those people are not going to show up to the interview. It's just going to be you 100%. Sitting on the Zoom call, waiting for them to show up.
Yeah.
So if you can,
that's why I like the assessment, because assessment is like this big thing. It just gets all the tire kickers out of the way. They're not going to spend any time without spending 30 minutes on this assessment. And that's usually a way to weed out a lot of people. And you're right. And not only hiring is a lot of time, but when you start training people, right? And you're hiring and training someone else, and you're 6 months in and the person isn't working out, you're like, oh, gotta start all over.
Yeah.
It's awful.
So I liked the overall strategy that you had going into a new market. You're going to start with your acquisitions guy. Yep. What's the compensation structure that you guys have for acquisitions? Do you do an hourly, or is it 100% commission based?
Yeah, we've done both. If I was to hire somebody now, I'd give them a small salary and a commission base off of that. We found it, our rock stars that we hired originally were all 100% commission based. They still are today. But we find it really hard for most people to weather the storm of success, because it could take you, up to 6 months before that income is consistent enough to make up for it. So small salary with, commission, and we reward them. So if they meet certain criteria, like a quarterly quota, so to speak, their commission rate is a higher percentage. So we want to encourage them to really, crush it.
Yeah. Yeah. I feel like it is what I've been realizing more is setting up your compensation to really align with what you want to have happen in the role. We're going through this with our property managers, even to really, we want to incentivize them to lease units. We want to incentivize them to get people to actually pay their rent. We own a lot of mobile home parks, and those tend to have people who just don't want to pay. They just kind of drag their feet to And so if setting up your compensation in a way that incentivizes the property manager or whoever you're dealing with to take the actions that you actually want them to take to hit the KPI that you're looking for, it really does help. And if you can set that up right at the beginning, it solves so many headaches later down the road.
Yeah, this is what I love about this business, and I've always loved about sales, right? I get rewarded for my effort, right? And I don't want to, no matter how hard I work and get paid the same, that's not a great feeling to be in, right? I want to be rewarded for my performance and my hard work, and I want to incentivize everybody in my company, and that's what we do.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't like salaries. I do feel like you do have to have some kind of salary there to keep people from, get people at a living rate where they're not making nothing. But everything after that, it really does need to be tied to performance. It needs to be tied to what you're actually doing. Because even property managers, I know, a lot of times they're on salary, but I like to just have them. You have a base salary that they will get every month, but after that, you can tie it to the number of units leased, the number of people that are not delinquent. And I'm just talking about property managers. You're talking about acquisition, but it doesn't matter what role you're talking about. Tie their pay to performance as much as you can. Yep, exactly. Because the owner, like yourself, like me, we're tied to performance as well. And if we're tied, everybody else should be tied as well. It just makes more sense to me.
I agree. I agree.
All right, getting off my soapbox there, going back to your business.
Oh, good soapbox. Gabe, you asked before that last question, just to let you know what my business like is today. So we're all about the off-market acquisitions, right? We have multiple disposition strategies. We don't do mobile home parks like you or self-storage. Maybe someday, it just hasn't been my niche yet. But we are small multifamily, single families, all about off-market acquisitions. And then from there, we either flip them, wholesale them, keep them as rentals. That's what we do.
Nice. Do you guys? So you guys you do rentals? You're building your portfolio. Do you guys do larger multifamilies, or are you guys just sticking with the 1 to 4?
Yeah. So I have a couple fives, but that's as large as I've gone so far. If the right opportunity came around, we would, but it's not our focus from a marketing perspective. Yeah. So it's just a matter of we just get lucky and hit the right lead or something like that.
Yeah, makes sense. All right, before we move to the quick question round, I always like to hear about the future because it's an exciting thing. I always like to hear about plans, goals, that kind of stuff. So what does the next 2 to 4 years or 2 to 5 years look like for you guys?
It's funny. I was just on a podcast I was asked the other day, and he said, what are the next 5 years like? And I answered the question, and then I was driving home. I said, I want to retake on that answer.
This is the opportunity.
Yeah, and I did a live, and I said, all right, this is why. So listen, 5 years ago, right, we were just getting into 2000, right before 2020, right before COVID happened and the whole world changed, right? I was still working at W-2. I had my first sales guy, but we only did about 50, 60 deals at that point. And I was just getting ready to quit my W-2. Fast forward 5 years today, right? I've had great success in New York. We're not there anymore, but we're in New York. We're in Florida now. We're in Massachusetts and New Hampshire, which was my original market when I quit my job back in 2019. And so much has happened. We've done almost 400 transactions in that 5 years. So when I think about the 5 years ahead, it's mind blowing because real estate is like the only place I could think that you can achieve so much success in a short amount of time. 5 years in the corporate world, you're lucky to get a couple pay raises and move up a position. But here, you can achieve so much. So the next 5 years, I'm probably going to be doing more of the same, but I'm going to be much better at it. I'm going to probably do it at a higher level. I'm not going to necessarily do it on a greater volume level, but I think, I'm going to just be better. So whatever I achieved in the previous 5 years, I assume I'm going to, at least from a success level, maybe not total number of acquisitions level, but gross profit, net profit, personal income, personal goals. I think I'm going to double, triple it because now I'm going in with 8 years of experience, not 3 like the previous 5. So it's super exciting, but we're going to just continue to get better at acquiring off-market properties, build my portfolio. I'm sure some shiny objects will eventually come along where I'll say, all right, take off the blinders. I've been super focused on this for a couple of years. Let's try mobile home parks, for an example. Something will catch my eye, and I want to go all in and try that. I always want to be growing and evolving. That's for sure. Nice,
man. I love it. Well, I hope you guys hit all your goals. I'm going to take that opportunity and push us into the quick question round. Are you ready?
Let's go.
All right. Starts with education. It could be anything. It could be a conference you've gone to, a mentorship program you've been in, a movie, a book, whatever. But I need 2 recommendations, one for general life wisdom and then one for real estate.
Woo, general life wisdom. Okay, well, I'm going to have to say the Miracle Morning book was a great one. It was a catalyst in 2019. It really helped me understand the power of a morning routine and setting up my day for success. So that'd be life one. And as far as business goes, my coach now, Steve Richards, out of Indianapolis, he's my CEO coach. I've had him for a couple of years. He's the longest coach I've ever had. He's instrumental for my growth and success. He's kind of my binky, so to speak. I could go 3 or 4 weeks without talking to him, but I need him there because he's my binky. So he's been a great aspect to my professional career in real estate.
Perfect. Next question is about, or it's for your younger self. Let's go back to the Jeremy who was just getting started back when he turned 40. Go back to him, look him in the eye, give him one piece of advice moving forward.
Learn about off-market acquisition sales skills right away. Get better at it right now and understand that you need to find private money ASAP. Learn those 2 things and your trajectory success will happen a lot faster.
Love it. All right, next question is about the U.S. It is a big place. There is a lot of opportunity out there. Give me the single metro you're most excited about investing in today.
I like South Florida. Florida's kind of crazy, but in different pockets. But I think Florida's got plenty of upside for a long time to come. So I will be spending my next 10 to 15 years in Florida doing some kind of investment always.
Perfect. All right, this is a good one for you because you are about the off-market lead gen. It all starts with getting in contact with the seller and penning that purchase agreement. So, what's your favorite way to generate leads and find new deals?
SEO. That's our best. That's been our best marketing channel for the last 8 years. We just did a deep study on our company, and the ROI has been tremendous. So we're number one in keywords and most keywords in our area up here in New Hampshire and Massachusetts. It takes years to develop, but SEO, I'm a big component of it. And I think with the changes going on in the future with regulations, with people opting out of texting, opting out of cold calling, opting out of ringless voicemails, it's going to be very, very challenging to get into marketing in this business without spending a lot of money. And having an SEO presence is going to be really important for your success long term.
Nice. I'm going to take a pause on that topic because SEO is I when I was in single family, I ranked a website in the town, and it wasn't until I was like, I swear to God, it was like 2 years when it actually started to just ping away, and I would just get lead after lead after lead. And that's when I realized, like, holy shit, this actually does work. So when you guys get into a new market and you want to set up a lead gen or a website that's ranked for a small town, let's say, what are the steps that you take to actually get it ranked?
Yeah, I mean, the best way for somebody who doesn't have a lot of money is just go to InvestorCare. I think they do a great job for
Mm.
entry level. We're a little bit more sophisticated for that now, but it's a little bit more expensive as well. So we have an SEO guy. We pay a lot of money. We had a website that was built, right? But if you're just getting in, I think InvestorCare is fine. That's what we did for the first 6 to 7 years in this industry, and we've used them in all of our markets. And we haven't been in Western New York for a couple of years. We still rank really high off our InvestorCare website that's just sitting there dormant. So I'm a big fan of this. I think they do a great job for short money.
Yeah. Yeah. Carrot's great. And on that note, you can also, something that I didn't know, but I realize now, you can, if you've ranked a website in a market, you can sell that website, because I stopped doing single family. And so I sold my website for that specific town. And so
Mm,
if you guys do work and you get a website ranked, you can sell it to people because it's worth money. It's ranking, it's bringing in leads, and other investors are going to be interested in that.
good to
All right,
know.
I'm going to move us on to the next question, and this is about lessons learned. Not every deal we get into goes the way we expect it. In fact, many times something goes wrong, and we get to learn a lesson. So, what was the deal that went a little sideways for you, and what was the lesson you pulled from it?
Listen, I would just say the biggest lesson I've learned over the last couple of years is keep not to keep up with the Joneses.
Mm,
Scaling is not always better. Bigger is not always better.
mm,
You come into this industry and it's like you must grow, you must scale, you must grow. Depending on your business model, that'd be great. But I've scaled to many people, many markets, and a lot of deals. But my net profit wasn't necessarily the same. My lifestyle was definitely not the same. Sometimes less is more. So I would say just like the people in the neighborhood not to keep up with the Joneses and overspend to live. I don't necessarily think everybody needs to scale. If that's what you want to do, great, but not you don't have to be very successful in this business and make a lot of money by scale, scale, scale. That's something I've learned the hard way over the last few years.
yeah, I think that is a good lesson, because when you're just starting out, all you want is scale. You just want to
Right.
be bigger. But bigger, what you don't realize is the more you grow, if you don't do it correctly, then it's just it brings you more headache. Is really what it does,
And
and it
scaling's
doesn't
hard.
yeah, it doesn't necessarily make you more profit. It might
It doesn't.
increase the top line,
Right.
but it doesn't mean that you're actually bringing more money in for yourself or your family.
I
Um,
can attest to that.
yeah, it's kind of a vanity figure to
It's
say,
a
"Hey, man,
vanity
I
thing for
made a
sure.
million dollars this year, but
Yeah.
I only
It's
took
just
home
like
50,000."
I just acquired 300 doors this year. I only really get 30 cents a door, but I acquired 300 doors this year.
Right.
Yeah, it's the same thing.
All right. Next question is about raising money. It does take money to make money in real
It
estate.
does.
So, what's your favorite way to raise capital?
We love our private lenders, true private lenders, and these are people that you know in your network right now. I guarantee if you went through all your contacts and your cell phones, there are people right now that have a self-directed IRA, a 401k, equity in their home, whole life insurance, just money sitting there that they would love to get into real estate because real estate's fun and sexy, but they don't know where to start. They don't want to flip. They don't want to be a landlord, but they would love to lend and get good returns. But as an investor, you need to go find those people and educate those people. Private lending has been probably the biggest thing outside of acquisition sales that's attributed to our success over the years. Where our life, like the lifeblood about my business is, it needs it. Like we're taking down literally 15 deals at a time, millions and millions of dollars. I need private money, and there's a lot of it out there. In the beginning, you get really nervous, you get really scared, you get intimidated, you don't think it's there. I promise you, your aunt's friend who she goes to school with has all that money, and she would love to get that return. You just need to go find her and educate her.
Yeah. Yeah. And those first conversations, I'll definitely attest to that. They are scary, especially if you're talking to family. Yeah. I remember the first deal I did. It was a syndication. So it's not private lending, but I was raising for equity essentially. And I was bringing it to my uncle who's a businessman. And I was so scared. And I had this whole pitch deck and talking about this deal and why it was great. But it turned out to be great because he knew me. He knew that I was a go-getter. I was going to take his money and make him more money. And so you don't need to be as scared as you probably will be. And when you are that scared, just push through it. It's worth it in the end.
Yeah, and I'll say one thing. Most people, from my experience, lend based on their feeling of the person more than the deal itself. So you could bring them the greatest deal in the world, but they don't trust you or like you as a person. They ain't investing. You could be bringing them an okay deal, but if they like you and they're rooting for you and want you to succeed, they're probably going to invest with you.
Yep, absolutely. All right, that brings us to the last question. This is for the listeners. Right. You've given us a lot to think about. I'm sure people want to reach out, get in contact with you. This is a two-parter. Where can they find you? And then what can they expect when they reach out?
Yeah, so you can find me all over social media, LinkedIn, Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, you name it, Jeremy Beland, Beland, or reifreedom.com. But I'll tell you what, I'll even move it one step forward. We talked a little bit today about acquisitions and off-market acquisition skills. If your listeners have interest in getting better at that, they can just go to reifreedom.com/top sales, and I will give away a PDF for our top sales techniques that we use in my business and teach our students every single day to get more deals, bigger deals with less cancellations. 100% free. Just go download it, start learning all the stuff that's in there, practice it, implement it to your business. I guarantee you're going to start walking away with more deals in no time.
Perfect. I'll put that link in the show notes. So if you guys want to reach out, excuse me, just click the little more in the description. It'll pull down that full description in there. You can find Jeremy's link. All right, man, that wraps it up. Thank you very much for hopping on the show.
Yeah, man. Thank you so much. What a pleasure. A great opportunity to talk to your guests today or your listeners. So thank you.
Absolutely. For everybody who's with us today, thank you guys for showing up. You are the reason we do this. So if you guys have any questions, reach out to me, Gabe at therealestateinvestingclub.com. If you guys want to support the show, the best way to do it is just leave us a review or put a comment in YouTube if you're watching on YouTube. Other than that, I hope you guys have a great week. Keep rocking real estate, and I look forward to seeing you on the next episode.